Well, you know what I've been told though, other than like using whicked and shit, like sometimes
You get, dude, if you leave New England, you get called out hard. Like, why do people think that's so crazy? I'm like, wicked is
nobody
not
knows
that.
what whicked is. Like, what the hell is?
GMV episode 63. I'm Luke.
I'm Joe.
Nice when it rhymes like that, man.
Yeah.
Now you probably noticed I stopped, I think at like episode 61. I stopped giving them each a title. I still obviously give a little description, but I just knew if I haven't already, I was going to start duplicating titles because I was giving them pretty generic shit, so it'd be like episode 58. Trust yourself or something, and then like episode 45 would just be trust. So I'm like, shit, man, I think it's time, like we're up there where we don't really need that anymore. So
yeah. Well, hopefully we can just start labeling by our guests, you know.
Well,
that'd be nice.
That's what I was thinking the exact same thing, man. When I decided to do that, I just stopped naming them, and I'm like, when we'll keep these episodes, this is perfect. Keep a running tally, just a number, episode, whatever. And then we got a guest on, it'll be episode with them. So I think that'll be perfect, man. So looking forward to that shit in the near future. But what's up with you, man? What you been up to today?
Not much, man. I just last week I actually was going to be recovery week for me, so recovery it's still pretty hard to do that, especially when you're helping train boot camp and shit. You know, you kind of get into it. You kind of get into the move.
Right off, when you say recovery week, because there's so many ways to do a recovery week. What are you talking about? Just
especially
like
with what I got going
cutting
on,
them all out, or what?
Yeah. No, I just wanted to actually like unload half. I was just unloading half, and really it was the heavier half. It was the jiu-jitsu, you know, yanking, torquing. You're going all out, especially when you're rolling. And then like just the strength training. You know, I definitely need to let up on that. I got to the point where I have it written down. I think it's 6 weeks. I did a real consistent strength training, 3 days a week, and I got to the point, man, where it was hard to hold on to shit. My arms were fucking tired. Like, they were recovering, but because of boot camp and because of jiu-jitsu, they weren't fully recovering. You know, ever. They were just constantly being hammered. They're holding up good, and I felt like I wanted to take it off because, of course, we talked about the bicep issue earlier in the last podcast, but I just wanted to watch that. I don't want to overwork it. I don't want to fatigue it. I don't want to set myself back any further. But for
it's kind of like it's like preventative medicine. You know what I mean? Like, you don't always have to wait until something hurts. You can stop. But
just think about it.
Yeah, been at it for as long as you have dealt with all the little nagging injuries and wear and tear. Like, you know, all right, now, and like I've said before, with most workouts I do, I can do about 3 months, but you just up the volume significantly. Not only you dump jiu-jitsu on it first, which that, as much as I haven't experienced myself, I mean, it's just anyone with half a brain can tell looking at that shit, it's a tough workout. Especially, you're working with a gi, right?
Yeah.
So I just saw a random video the other day, man, of this guy. It was the strawweight champion. Her name's Rose, and then her trainer, Ron Rogan. He's talking about her workouts. Just a lot of unconventional shit, not a whole lot of structure with the strength and conditioning. And the trainer's like, man, gi jiu-jitsu, I feel like that's almost like weightlifting. I mean, you're gripping and pulling and pushing and grabbing. It made sense to me how he said it, so I didn't think about that because I'd never done it, but I hear that. So, man, you dumped jiu-jitsu on it, and then you started working at the boot camp, which obviously is a pretty active fucking position, so adding in that volume on top, you upped it significantly, so it's no surprise that you're feeling it and you're like, damn, I need to rest up a little and let the...
And I've been going at it now for a little bit. I think I got 6 weeks this last time, and I think the time before that was 6 weeks. So I roughly got about 12 weeks, man, wrapped up into doing that 3 days, 3 workouts shit. And when I do boot camp, man, like, even though I'm teaching it, like, sometimes I'll train at the first one, and I'll teach the ones afterwards. For one thing, I get the class down. I'm also getting that workout in, getting warmed up, and it makes it easier for me to just, like, give off that energy that everybody else needs, you know, especially when I'm already working out. I look pretty pumped up and shit, ready to go. But it is. It's fucking hard, man, because, like, you just nailed it when you're saying, like, we've been working out for such a long time, and we kind of know when our body's getting fatigued. I mean, I didn't even want to reach above the refrigerator, not because anything hurt, because my arms are tired. I couldn't even hold on to anybody's gi. Like, those guys are breaking my balls, and they're not understanding that I did, like, this one day, I did a killer fucking tricep chest workout in the boot camp, and then I did a badass bicep, so I got the chest and tricep and bicep going on, all fatigued out. Then I did, jiu-jitsu. I get in there, I rolled for like an hour and a half, and these guys were like, yo, let's go, we only got 2 more rounds, and we did the whole class. I'm like, fuck, dude, like, I have a hard time holding my water bottle right now, fucking drink it. He's like, come on, don't be a pussy, and then he noticed afterwards, he's like, I've never passed your grip. He goes, you must be pretty tired. I said, yeah, I can't hold on to shit. And you just, like, kind of sunk it all in. All those movements that I'm doing, you know, especially like chest or even bicep, a lot of biceps, especially for pulling people into you, keeping them real close. It is like fucking a workout, man. It is like a strength training workout because you're using, even though you don't want to go 100%, there's times where you get in certain positions where you're probably going to go close to 100% just to get yourself either out of it or to finish it, you know, whatever it is. We say we do 50% to 80%, but I don't know. I see mostly 80 to 90 a lot of the times.
Yeah, I mean, when you're actually rolling, I'm sure it gets amped up.
Yeah.
Man, I was just thinking, you probably do a fuckload of isometric contractions too, like just full contraction holding in, like probably in between moves and all that shit. So that's a whole another type.
Long hold too.
Yeah,
long
exactly.
Hold. Sometimes, like if you don't want somebody to sneak by, you're fucking pinching for a long while they're trying to fight in there. You know, so now you're not only just like holding, you're actually like somewhat moving a little bit in it.
Yeah,
trying
it's kind of like a combo almost. Yeah, I just personally, as I said, I haven't done any jiu-jitsu myself. One of the things I like to do when I'm just doing pull-ups like I do throughout my day, on the last one, I'll often like to hold at the top just to get a little extra work. After I've done, and I'm not doing like a set of pull-ups to crazy failure, but I'll hold and then do like a real slow negative, and it's like a simple way to look at it. I remember this is from that old school bodybuilder, Dorian Yates, who used to do those insane high intensity workouts. There's basically three levels of strength you have on a movement. Like, so we'll go on a bench press because everyone knows that. The first one that's going to fail is the positive, so pushing it off your chest. Then would be the isometric, and then a negative. And that's why you see those people doing those high intensity workouts where they do a couple totally burn out on the reps they can do themselves, and then have, if it's a good spotter, give just the right amount of pressure. And we did that when we were benching heavy a few years ago, man, to get just a little overload. It's very similar to if you were doing a drop set. So going max effort, burning out, and then taking a little weight off the bar, and then doing more reps without any rest and doing it again and again. So going through those planes of strength, man, that must be like fucking half of jiu-jitsu, like managing your energy like that. What kind of strength do I have left in my grip or this hold? Is you probably get too burnt out at times, like actually lift someone off you like you normally could. But if you hold for maybe 5-10 seconds, then you probably can. You know, like, so you're still using energy, but just not quite as much. So yeah, man, that's interesting shit.
And like I haven't felt any fatigue. And this is me being like totally honest. Like everybody keeps telling me, you know, because I have a lot of strength and stuff. They're like, that could be weakness. That's gonna be weak. It's gonna wear you out. But I haven't been worn out until this last week, where I was just fatigued through all of it. My legs were fatigued. Everything was just hammered on. So that's why I took that week off. And I'm gonna be real here. You know, like I definitely have been thinking about, you know, recovery over the years is so important. But I did half, if not less. And I fucking got injured, man. Like, it pisses me off. I don't know, man. Like, I was fucking around at the playground, alright? I wasn't doing anything, no hangs or nothing. All I was doing was running around playing tag with little Bobby. That was sweet. I start biking back home. I get, like, this weird twinge right behind my neck. I was like, wow, it's a fucking tight. It felt like my shoulder blade hopped up over my spine on one side. That's what it felt like. It felt like
out of alignment, yeah.
I'm like, so I'm over there fucking trying to work it. By the time we get home from the bike ride, I'm like, what the fuck? And I start working it out, dude, for like 4 days now. And like even today I said, fuck it, and I went out and did the workout. Because it's been 4 days solid of doing nothing. I usually don't let nothing happen. But I only started stretching out my lower half because I didn't want to keep inflaming the top. I realized when I was working it, it was actually getting more irritated. But I like, what the fuck is the deal with that? Like, how, like, I don't know how that happens. I was going twice as easy. I wasn't doing any crazy stretches. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I wasn't tight. Maybe I didn't stretch because I didn't do the workouts. You know what I mean? Usually I do a workout every morning, so maybe the workout was part of it. But to go easier on yourself and recover, like, I still know the importance of recovery, but I see where people find this very hard to do is because if you get something like I just had in a recovery, it's like, fuck the recovery.
Well, that's
might as well
bullshit.
work out.
Yeah. That's a
I
bitch,
know. I
man.
might as well fucking continue worked out and just been fatigued as hell, you know?
Well,
I mean,
honestly, man, let's be real about it. If you had done that, chances are pretty good because you know yourself. You're being honest with yourself at this point that you were working. You probably would have hurt yourself in a workout. So the fact that you did it doing something easy goes to show that something was overtaxed. Or who knows, maybe you just moved in a weird way. I would guess it's probably a combo. But shit, man, I was going to say, you're doing like the classic deload workout, which is just cut the volume in half. Still do your normal shit, just half of it. So you're half the weight, half the volume, still get that movement in. That's, in my opinion, one of the best ways to go about it. So yeah, the fact that you something tweaked doing that, that's a bitch, man. I don't know what to say. And it sounds to me like you're doing exactly what I would advise someone to do and what I do for myself. So yeah, maybe, who knows? Who knows what it was, man.
It's probably just my luck, man. Like, I sat in the car wrong earlier or some fucking bullshit.
I would guess, there's probably a few different factors. Like I said, the fatigue, maybe a weird movement, maybe just some bullshit. Maybe you slept on it wrong, and then something strained or stretched in a way it didn't want to. But damn, I hear you, man. Timing. That makes you not want to ever stop. Fuck this shit. I'm just gonna keep doing what I do. If I get hurt doing a workout, shit, at least I was doing, like, making progress.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, shit, yeah.
So yeah, that's tough, man. I would think that, like, there's a high chance maybe something got pulled when you're doing jiu-jitsu or boot camp, and then it crept out later. You know what I mean? Some shit like that. Because I've had never anything too dramatic, but similar, like, when I'm not doing anything intense at all and had like a lower back tweak or something like that, I've been like, what the fuck, man? I was letting my body rest. How did it come out now? So, yeah, I would, right now, you just have to pay careful attention and see if this is something that's going to nag you, because you can't have that if you're going to be
It's weird, though, man.
Time, man.
Like, I can't even explain it. It's a pain that is like I can't like look down real fast. I could look down. I got full range. It's just to my left and looking down is rugged. But it makes no sense because I just went out there and I'm gonna put it up my intervals I did today. I just did a quick example. I wanted to put it on a video. I'll throw it up on Instagram and Facebook. But and then I did a badass bicep, a fucking killer bicep workout. Went right back into it like I was normally. And not a fucking thing. You know, if anything, it was getting looser. I come inside, start making my smoothie. I try to look to the left. I'm like fucking Robot Man. I go into it, and it's like slow. Look down. Like, what the fuck?
I hear you,
man.
Man.
It's crazy. Like, I'm actually going to go tonight to jiu-jitsu. I'm not going to roll. I'm just going to go through the practices and the motions and shit.
That's
because
smart, man.
Because I think that's just going to be, maybe it's working its way out. Maybe I just can't mentally sit, though. Like, I can't do it anymore. I sat too long.
We've talked about this in the past, too, man, what it is with an injury like this, and I don't really care what it is. There's always a workaround for it. So, of course it's smart to give it a little rest, and, like, unless it's a broken bone or a muscle that's, like, ripped off, something serious that might need surgery or a cast or some shit like that, workaround. I mean, fuck, man, there's always something you can do. There's people in wheelchairs who do beast mode workouts, man. Yeah. They crush it. So, obviously, that's a much more serious long-term thing. But whatever you have, I mean, your foot's fucked up. Do a lot of stuff seated or hanging. Your back's fucked up. It's time for some leg workouts, man. I'm sure you can hike pretty effectively. So, maybe it's time to say, fuck your normal workouts, throw on the weight vest, and go for a hike or some shit like that. You know, something to overload the legs in a way you haven't done before. So, yeah, man, just see where you're at. You know what it is at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just irritating, man. It's been a little frustrating, but everything else has been going good. The only thing about having an injury like this is it's a bit of a fucking bummer when you're going to the boot camp, you know, and you're trying to like help people and you're like supposed to be this shining example, and I can't even fucking turn and look to my left to like somebody say my name. I have to like turn my whole body like, what's up? You know?
All right, man. My advice on that is just fucking fake it. Just do what you can do. Maybe you can. I'm taking it a little easy
move
with my workouts. Yeah. No, that's the worst. Like when you're driving and you gotta turn your whole body
to
look
it out
mirror,
here.
Look over your shoulder. Fuck that, man.
Dude, totally different out here too. Like I've driven around back home with back problems and stuff, and like the day after my neck started fucking getting jacked up. It was pretty rugged the next day. It was like, I don't know, it got into full beast mode, fuck about 100% pain all day. And there's so many lights and there's so much traffic. Trying to look to the left, I'm like, fuck this. I just sat sideways, drove the fucking heel of my foot so I could see that way because I could turn it. Oh, it was hilarious. It was hilarious. But I do have to say, I am building up some confidence, man. I got some really good, feedback from my client in the holistic health coaching.
Hell yeah.
The Better Me, which is super badass. Because we didn't really go at it the same exact way as the 6-month program, and I have it made up. We kind of just went at it as a very informational state for her because she's from a different country and stuff. So it was a little different, but like what I realized, that's the whole part of holistic health coaching, and is every single person's going to be so different.
Yeah, that individual approach, man.
Individual approach. So even the program has to be customized. I mean, the school said that, but I didn't realize the depth that had to go in, like, the actual program itself. So I got some real good feedback from that. She's like, you know, I wasn't seeing what we were getting at first, and now we're about 4 months in, and she's just like, man, I can't like, she even had some friends comment on how she looks and stuff, and they're like, how you doing it? And she was like, Joe is how I'm doing it. So that was dope.
Yep.
And I also did like a grocery store tour right up here at King Supers is what we have out here. We have like Safeway, King Super grocery stores, and took the boot camp up there. We're doing a challenge.
That's
and like
great, man.
One of the biggest things for people is like how to buy fucking food, like the
You're
just
showing
the
them how to
knowledge.
read those fucking nutrition labels. It was an
need to get
episode
into
or
that.
two back. Anyone who wants to know how to read a fucking nutrition label, we went all into that. It's the most basic thing, but it really is a useful skill. Like it's a game changer if you're just trying to get healthy food at the grocery store, which is kind of what you got to do at this point, unless you wanna go farm your own shit or something.
And on that, like, I remember saying, you know, if it's in a bag or a box, don't eat it. I do have to fucking come back on that, just because when I was at the store there, one of the ladies is like, so I remember you saying last week, if it's in a bag or a box, don't eat it. She goes, so what about these nuts? I said, well, all right. So this is how I'm gonna rephrase it. I was like, listen, if it's 5 ingredients or less in a bag or a box, you could eat it. Because, like, cashews, if they're raw cashews or even sea salt cashew, like, fucking yeah, eat them in the bag. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's where part of, like, the person's own critical thinking, the responsibility's got to be on them. And when you're actually refining it for, like, a class like that, which is basically what you're doing if you're taking people and showing them in the store, like, how to do stuff, of course, you don't mean that literally. That's just like a general guideline for people who... This surprised me, man, when I first ran into it. A lot of people don't know. Like, what I usually say is the less processed, the better. A lot of people really don't even understand what processed is. Like, they don't they don't make the connection, like, an apple is less processed than applesauce. You have to, like, actually break it down. So... Your rule is
doing anything with it is a process.
The farther away it is
right down
from its natural form. So, however it was harvested, killed if it's an animal, whatever, collected for eggs and stuff like that. But yeah, just the farther you take it from its original form, and that's the processing. Any process up, and the more things you add, more ingredients. So you have to refine that shit for people as you go, of course. But like I said, that I think a lot of that is, and you can explain this to them, but you got to put some responsibility in them. Like, of course, there's a lot of things now. Like, you don't know how every food in the world's packaged. Like, you go to Trader Joe's, all the organic greens are in bags. We're not saying don't eat organic salad because it happened to be in a plastic bag. I don't know any other way you get salads besides a plastic bag. So, like, you got to apply a little bit of, like I said, critical thinking there, but that is the kind of thing you're going to run into. Definitely, I wasn't even thinking with the boot camp before, more with the health coaching, but for sure, if you're doing stuff like that, which I just got to say is fucking great, man. That's just a good thing. I feel like you're really providing a good service because so many people end it at the gym, and the reality is the top priority for most people just trying to get in shape is to be a little healthier, but probably for most of them above that is just to lose weight. And if they just focus on the workouts and don't get at least like a basic handle on the nutrition, they're going to fail. That's you can't outwork a terrible diet. You really can't.
Well, we make sure we let everybody know that too. Like the gym is definitely key to get in 3 to more a week. Mm-hmm. We limit like minimum 3. You gotta get it in. But like 70% of the work is what you're doing at home. So like I'm actually building up a lot of confidence because this is all this boot camp stuff for me is like huge prep work for my holistic health coach.
Yeah, they go hand in hand.
I'm talking to such variants of people, different languages, different backgrounds, different builds, all this crazy shit. And like they're asking me the questions and I'm coming up with the answers, and that's the shit that's like really making me start clicking, especially with this grocery store tour. Like I was like, oh shit, like I'd done one with individuals now, like 3 or 4 of them, but I've never done one with a group.
Oh yeah, that's another level, man. Taking a group.
Yeah, so
like I said, you're basically being a teacher teaching a class. The way I see it.
Yeah,
just
I mean, I know enough. Like it fucking shocks me sometimes how much I know about shit. Like I'll break it down almost too far.
It's
like
unconscious at this point, man. You walk through, and if you're like, oh, I need some greens, you don't think, oh, that shit's in a bag, but if someone else that you put the rule down, it might be worth explaining.
Well, even all the way down to like specifics. Like I got right into it, man. Like which ones are like which vegetables you want to buy organic, which ones you don't, just so you can stay within a budget. You know what I mean? Like a rooted fucking vegetable is going to be a lot more. You're going to be able to wash that off, and it's not going to have as much ingested into the vegetable as like broccoli or fucking celery and stuff. I mean, I actually held it up and was like, look how celery's made. It grows up fucking with arms, and everything sinks to the middle. The way celery like collects a lot of water is it goes down to the center of it. So when they fucking spray the pesticides on it, what do you think happens? It goes into the center of the fucking plant. So that plant has pesticides embedded through the whole thing of it.
And here's another one. This is just a basic reference point for people, and I'm definitely not going to list them off. There's 2 lists. One's called the Clean 15, and one's the Dirty Dozen. They're all over the internet. It's just the foods that you should buy organic, and the ones you don't have to buy organic and don't have to worry about, like bananas, avocados, shit like that just doesn't have a high pesticide load on it. So that makes all the difference, especially, man, because what's the first thing you usually hear when you're trying to get someone to eat more healthy, whole, unprocessed foods?
The expense, it's all about the expense.
Yeah, there's ways to cut that down.
That's why I tried leaning it out like that. Yeah, and I make it so it's like, and like the cool thing is too, like I don't know if it's just because I like to be informed of this shit and I'm just like doing it the way I would take it or what, but like I'm telling people like the benefits of this. Like it's good to get your celery and shit organic because of these benefits over the pesticides, but then I also put up fucking celery's got high properties of anti-inflammatory. Now, you're starting to work out. You're starting to stress your body out in ways it's never been stressed before. You could be mentally even stressed because you're trying to keep up. Whatever it is, you probably got inflammation being made up. So if you can start dealing with the inflammation and monitoring that the best you can, then your pain levels in your joints and your muscles is going to be a lot lower than if you ignore it at all. You know what I mean? Like I'm throwing out little things.
I think general awareness of inflammation, and especially how food can promote that and put yourself in your body in a state that's susceptible to disease, that's one of the best things that's come out from the whole health industry in the last few years, because I wouldn't say it's totally understood. Like, you pull someone off the street, they might not know the details, but I can't tell you, man, how many people I've run into who are either doing the gluten or dairy test, or both. Like, it's usually about a month, sometimes a couple weeks, sometimes it's longer. It just depends why they're doing it and who told them. But so many people are just aware that, hey, like, even if they don't know the details of inflammation in their gut and anything, the normal person doesn't need to know that. They just need to know if gluten has a negative effect on them. If it doesn't, good to go. Maybe it can be a perfectly healthy part of your diet. For some people, shit can make a huge difference. Same with dairy. So Yeah, I just love to see that, man, and I think it's the info is spreading, man. Sometimes I'm optimistic
But it's blowing
about
my mind how little people know. It blows my mind. Like, I had a couple people there the other day I was talking to that were like, dairy, we think there's a lot of people that know this shit because that's what we surround our life with. But, like, as I'm out there, like, telling people and share, like, I'm like, people even in school for the shit that are a doctor. This guy's a fucking doctor over here. And he didn't know about the pesticides. He didn't know about the arsenic and the fucking chicken that we give him to keep for a disease and all this shit. And if a chicken lives long enough being pumped full of arsenic, the fucking thing ended up dying anyway. So why the hell we eating it? Like, little shit like that ends up being so big, I
know you know this, absolutely, but this is what it's so hard to overlook when people make assumptions about a position like a doctor. To be an MD, a medical doctor, go through whatever, 9-10 years of school, pay all that money, like, that's a hard process to go through. The only nutrition class they're required to take is one intro to nutrition when they're an undergrad. It doesn't mean that some doctors don't have more. It doesn't mean some don't know more about nutrition, but you have to face that reality that they're not required to, and the vast majority of them don't know jack shit about nutrition.
Yeah.
They don't. I mean, it's sad.
I mean,
but it's
look
not
at
uncommon for a lot of to be a fat doctor. That's what I was just gonna say, man.
You just look at them, man.
And sometimes it's possible to know the info and not apply it to yourself. Of course, that can be true, but most doctors really have a very low-level grasp on nutrition unless you're going to some kind of like holistic health practitioner or some shit like that. So people who take their doctor's recommendations for nutrition, for the most part, again, this is where the critical thinking comes in. You have to talk to the person, of course, question them, and compare the info to other sources, see if they really know what they're talking about, and just base-level stuff like the dairy, gluten, sodium's another big one. The doctors fuck up so often. They put people on these low-sodium diets. It's the processed foods that are fucking them up, and all the load of bullshit that comes along with that. And yes, it's true that processed foods are high in sodium. It's not the sodium that's fucking them up. There isn't the research to back that up, but it's the same thing, man. Another paradigm in the nutrition world that we're seeing totally blown up in the last few years is how people, for a couple decades there, legitimately thought fat was really bad for you, especially saturated fat.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like butter. I mean, for shit, like the whole probably like 70s to mid-90s at least, they pushed the eating margarine, which that shit is a stick of heart disease. That's what it is. It's like artery clogging in a fucking
fake
stick.
as fuck. It's
what it is for anyone who doesn't know, I know this is just little technical shit, but just for the sake of it, margarine is vegetable oil that they hydrogenate, and that's push hydrogen through it, like bubbles of hydrogen through it, and that changes the fatty acid, solidifies it, so instead of the liquid vegetable oil, like most of you think of canola oil, olive, whatever, instead of the liquid vegetable oil, it turns into that solid block butter imitation. It just so happens that your heart and arteries and all that does not like that kind of fat. It's like it's a totally that's what trans fats are. So when that shit goes in, it really is like, in terms of heart disease, besides smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, you couldn't do anything worse. But for fucking decades, people thought that was a healthier version than butter. So that's how backwards some of the thinking is.
Yeah.
And luckily, like, we've reversed on that, but it is hard to break those things because there's a lot of people, like, say my parents' age, I don't know, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, are still like, well, yeah, butter's not great for you. That's what gives you heart disease. It's unfortunate. I don't know all the reasons behind it, but in a way they were lied to about that. So
yeah, it's too much generalizing going on. Like, like one thing is just totally bad for you, and like people come at me. So this is bad for you? I said, not if it's of quality. That's the only thing that anybody has to think about anything. Think about
right back to let's stick on the example of butter, man, because it's something that almost everyone eats, unless you're like a full vegan or whatever. Most people consume some amount of butter in their diet. You get a good source of butter from grass-fed cows, it's totally available. We're not talking farmers market shit. There's in any normal grocery store 2 or 3 brands that have. They usually don't even say it on them. They're usually imported from Europe. Get a good brand like Kerrygold or some shit like that. Go to Trader Joe's. I know they have a couple good brands there. It's not that expensive, none of it. You go to the standard like Cabot or some other normal big mass-produced dairy brand, that butter is shitty for you. So it really, exactly what you said, it's just the quality. It's not butter is good or bad for you. It's what's the source? Where's that shit coming from? And then in the context of your own diet, it might be a good thing to include. So, yeah, man, I hear you. It's way too easy to generalize. People want to make things black and white, like this is good or bad, when that's not it. As you said, what's the quality?
Yeah. But, I mean, the whole thing overall, though, I've had a real good couple weeks here. I mean, it's nice, too. I mean, I said it before, Alicia's doing real well, so it makes, like, the bills a lot better. But I'm actually gaining a lot of knowledge. We touched on it last week about, you know, right now is not the money time, it's, like, the knowledge time. And I'm embracing that, like, fully. Like, I can't believe, like, I'm already, like, I'm so confident. I want to just be out there and be telling people I'm a health coach. You know, not be like, you know, give me a chance to be a health coach. I am a fucking health coach. I've been seeing it, and now that I've been out here and just living it now for fucking 7 months now, which is pretty out of control. I can't.
Yeah, be a year real soon. Time flies, man.
Dude, fucking flies. But like, it's part of me now, and like I can actually back it up. You know, people come at me with certain body types, and they're like, so what do you suggest for this? What do you suggest for that? And like, I have enough in my background now. I just wing it out. Like, even before, I mean, I probably had it. I just didn't have the confidence. My confidence is starting to build up. I have this thing for me. It's always been just because dyslexia, all that shit we talked about before. Well, I'll get like a confidence, but it never will exceed too much because, for one thing, I'm always second guessing myself. I always want to make sure I'm right. Like, even when I put up a post and I'm like putting up something about what anti-inflammatory, you know, what it could prevent eating these things, what it would help prevent. I know what it can help prevent, but I'm still gonna look it up. You know what I mean? Just to make sure that I'm not gonna throw something out there that's a little fucky or something. Like, I always want to continue learning. Like, I see these couple people out here. The only reason I say that is I've talked to a few other, and they're just physical trainers, and they just know everything. And it allows them for no growth. Like, they don't want to hear anything I have to say. And honestly, like, they actually gave me a couple good tips, but I know there's some shit that, like, I could see. I'm like, listen, man, like, it would be a lot easier if you did it like this. Or I think you should work this before you start doing that, you know. And they just don't even want to hear it, you know. They're not being open to it at all. And it's just because their confidence level is fucking through the roof. You know, like, it's insane, and I think that's why I click so well with people, man. I click real well with people because I don't come at them with that overabundance of I know.
Yeah, well, being open to learning new things, and not having overconfidence, and to me, like, what I call that is just being cocky. Like, for almost anything, having a high level of confidence is going to be helpful, but yeah, if you push it too far, get cocky, then you're just closed-minded to other options, and it happens in all fields, man, and that's unfortunate, but it's an easy way to stop your progress. And what I think a good way to classify it, with the trait we're talking about that's so important, being open-minded, wanting to learn all that shit, is just intellectual curiosity, man, because that's going to apply differently to each person. Like, what you have to do is be curious about some shit and then follow through in learning about it. That's it. It doesn't mean you have to be a damn expert in everything you're interested in, but whatever it is, if you're interested in nutrition, read a couple books about it. Watch a video. I mean, fuck, there's a documentary on everything now. It's easy to engage your interest. So I think as long as you keep doing that, literally just pursuing things that you're interested in, it's inevitable that, one, you're going to keep learning, and two, you're going to stay in some kind of state of being open-minded. You know what I mean? Like, I could see it, someone who's really, they're at their black belt level of a certain thing, a doctor, a trainer, whatever, where they still have to be open-minded, but they're probably pretty locked in on a lot of things. You know, their life experiences taught them that this works, this doesn't, all that. They don't have to experiment as much as someone like our age who's still learning a lot of this shit, going through the
of course, but why not be
process,
open?
But
well,
that's what I'm saying. If you still continue to learn, I don't care what level you're at. Again, black belt in whatever, PhD, you still have to, if you still follow your interests, you're going to have to stay open because you're going to learn new things, and there's always going to be conflicting info, whether you agree with it or not. So. And
when you become a black belt, I hear this is like for jiu-jitsu anyways, the black belts tell me that's when they start to learn. When they get their black belt, that's when they understand how to learn, and they really start understanding the movements in your body and the leverage. Like I had this one guy. I think he's 60 something. He's been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for fucking 30 years or whatever, and he's like, man, I didn't start learning until I got my fucking third stripe on my belt. I'm like, on his black belt. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And it really clicked to me afterwards too, because it's just like me and you in the beginning of working out. We didn't understand it until we did it for a long enough time. We looked at enough angles and stuff. Now we could just like fucking push it together. Like we understand it. We could look at somebody's workout, try to understand what they're doing real quick. You know what I mean?
Damn near read people.
Read people now. You know what I mean?
Physical performance and workout.
Yeah.
But think about looking at what that guy said objectively, and that's such a great mindset for him to have. That's exactly what we were saying, though. Obviously, he had to learn a fuckload of skills and technique to get to be a third-level black belt or whatever he was, but him saying, that's when I started learning, it's basically doing exactly what we were just advocating, man. It's going, I'm going to stay open-minded and still learn more shit on top of that. And that's when you get those real high-level savages in whatever, man. The ones who want to keep learning, keep breaking it down. And so often, like, you always can credit natural ability, but you get really high-level athletes in particular, the ones who get to the stupid high level. And, man, fuck, I don't even want to bring this up because, just for the record, the Patriots are in the Super Bowl next year. We're both from Vermont. All in New England rides and dies for the Patriots. I fucking hate them. I've been a Steelers fan. That's where I have family there. So I've always been the odd man out at the Super Bowl party because the Patriots are always in it. Steelers, they got their rings too, but
it's real unique out here, man.
So me
it's
and you
really
been talking
unique
shit on the Patriots for a long time man. It's undeniable at this point, and I'm gonna go one step farther, man. I can't believe I'm sinking to this level. I've talked so much shit about Tom Brady, but he's a perfect example of what I'm talking about, man. Ridiculous high level, Super Bowls on Super Bowls, records, all kinds of shit, and still working on his game, even if, like, he probably has it down pretty damn well how to throw football. Tom Brady's not probably going to take the off season and go, how can I tweak my throw? He's got that. That might be like the first year or two after you graduate from college and you just get in the NFL. Now he's figuring out how to be a better leader, how to train smarter, that kind of stuff. The things, the small, it's just the icing on top that will win you a Super Bowl when you're already a great. And that's special, man. Another one, and here's another athlete. I always fucking hated this guy, man. Kobe Bryant was just like that too. One of the all-time great basketball players.
Yep.
Always still working on his game. The guy who's going to go shoot free throws after a playoff win. Like, just excessive work on work. But, yeah, that growth mindset, always saying I can learn something more, is valuable, man. And it's a little more dramatic when you apply it to, like, a world-class athlete like that, you know. But it goes all the way down to all levels. People like that jiu-jitsu black belt, that's pretty high level, all the way down to us, our workouts, it can apply to really any aspect of life. Just keep that open mind. And
the way I take this in is, like, really actually, it touches me real close because when I was younger, that's the only way, like, I learned was off of people. So I had to be open to everything. Like, I'm still very open to any type of diet, any type of exercise. Like, I want to hear what this woman who has never done or, like, a workout in her life, how she's eating and, like, how she's feeling and stuff. Like, I'm learning off of that. And because of my dyslexia and short-term memory and stuff, like, I definitely took and now that I understand it and how to use it, which is very powerful for me. And like, I'm still trying to keen in on the exact way to use it, but I am getting better with it, and it's insane, man. Like, I can absorb information from people like there's no tomorrow. With just a good conversation. And that's one thing that I have out here that's real key is I'm using my power that I'm using, like, me and you practiced all the time, and, like, I didn't get enough of back at home at all. I mean, clearly we didn't. Me and you would fuck up our workouts because we're just talking the whole entire time.
Yeah, so, like, every once in a while we would get off track that way, man. It was usually it was interesting enough that it was worth it, and there's not much that's worth fucking up a workout for.
Yeah, so it was
when
like...
we were really getting after it, man, we had to put it in early on. You can't talk during a heavy set rule. It's all you one more thing. I'm trying to get out. Like, one more, something else, man. Some insight on that.
I know. And, like, out here now, like, I'm putting that into... It's in fucking high speed. It's fully engaged, man. Like... And I could just see it happening. I'm excited just to talk to people. Like, I just want to meet up with people so I can learn things, so I know what to do when somebody else comes up with something. You know, so, like, I did a little thing. I put it on Better Me. You could check it out. It's Better Me LLC on YouTube. I did a little thing about being open, you know, just because so many people are closed, like, out here. Like, and what I noticed is if you're closed, you're fucking closed. You're closed off to giving out any information. You're closed off to receiving it. You're closed off to growth. You're closed off to everything. You are literally closing your life off to the point where you are just going to continue in your fucking little spiral of crap going on. You know what I mean? When you open just fucking a little bit, that gives you a chance to maybe today's going to be the best fucking day. Maybe today is going to change my life. Maybe I'll meet somebody today. Maybe I'll have a conversation with somebody today. Maybe I'll learn something today that will open fucking my eyes or change my life. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe it. And I guess having so many conversations with people out here, I just seen it. I see people that are closed off. I try to get them to be open, and they're not. And you could just see when they're complaining, like, the spiral of shit that just keeps going because of literally not being open. Like, it's fucking
absolutely,
insane.
Man. Yeah, another way to put it is you just have to recognize that there's always opportunities going on around you, even if it doesn't feel like it. If it feels things are going downhill, that's probably the opportunity. Like, there always. Even goes right back to what we were just talking about before, man. Even if there's not any of the opportunities you want, there's always learning opportunities. So you can always pick up a fucking book. Read about some shit that you wanted to learn about. And I know if that's not in your day-to-day habit, that could be really hard to do, but find a way to do it. Like I said before, documentaries, podcasts, whatever. It's too accessible at this point. We have no excuse, man. At least living here in America, like we got it good. We have it fucking great, actually. Not to go on
and you
America
touched right on it, man. The podcast, I can't tell you how much shit I use from, like, Joe Rogan and, like, fucking Into the Roar, like, he's had a couple good things, like, especially just about, like, the meat and some veggies and shit. Like, I just remember listening to him, like, yo, well, if you eat white potatoes, you know what I mean? I start getting into it, let them cool. I'm like, shit, I learned that from Rogan. So now I'm popping Rogan on twice as much, and I'm like,
and that's why I got so obsessed with podcasts right away, and I knew you would get hooked too, because what it does is it engages that intellectual curiosity, shit you want to learn about. You find the right shows, listen to them, stuff. You learn like I learn nutrition stuff all the time, and let's just be fully transparent here. Like, say you hear some nutrition shit on Rogan, always good to double check it. Like, unless it came from Rhonda Patrick, if he says it, double check it. But what it does is it puts me on a new track. Like, oh, I learned about this type of diet. Yep. Like you said, resistant starch with fucking potatoes or whatever. I've learned so many useful things that I've actually been able to put in practice in my life, man, that make me feel better, stronger, healthy, happier, all that shit.
All that shit, for sure.
Yeah, like we said, it's accessible as fuck at this point. So there's always something you can dig into. And on that, I know I was talking about it last time. This shows how into that Arnold book I was, man, because I was reading it on my Kindle. I don't know exactly how many pages because it changes the size of the font and stuff, and you don't have the hard copy, of course. But I know it's a pretty big-ass book because I remember seeing it way back when it came out. I finished that shit this morning. Ridiculously good, man. You gotta read it. Like I was saying before, I wasn't sure if it just for people who might be fans of Arnold in general or lifting, bodybuilding, whatever. I think damn near anyone could benefit from reading that book, even because, and that's how it is with a lot of biographies, man. You read about someone who's accomplished a lot of high-level things, you're gonna get some useful stuff, and this is what really did it for me. Why I'm so hyped on it at the moment. So great stuff the whole way through. He even aired out that affair and the kid he had and all that, how it fucked up his marriage. That's the very second to last chapter.
Holy shit, hell yeah.
Last chapter, he just, he very, very honest and just a cool insight into the guy's life all the way from the beginning, all the shit he did, people he talked to. Like, man, I thought I knew a lot about all the stuff Arnold did, but he covers hella stuff that I was never even aware of, man. Even movies I hadn't heard of. But the last
really?
chapter, for sure, man, for sure. Last chapter really did it for me. He wrapped it up. First, he dropped his 5 things, and I'd heard him say them before, like his 5 rules or lessons for life or whatever he calls it. There's a few videos floating around online, like inspirational shit, of him giving a graduation speech or something. He's clearly refined these, like people like him in speeches. I'm sure you've heard it because I've seen it a few times over the years. But the 5 things he throws out are: first, have a vision; second, trust yourself; third, break some rules. That's kind of like his joke. He says that in the middle, and everyone laughs at the graduation speech or some shit. Fourth, don't pay attention to naysayers. That translates to fuck the haters for all us young people. I don't know who the fuck says naysayers anymore, but that's how Arnold says it. And it's kind of funny in his accent too, say that shit. And then lastly, and we've talked about this one in the past for sure, man, but don't be scared to fail. And out of those 5, that one always sticks out to me because, as I said, those are really like good points for a speech. He's figured out that when he says those to a crowd, people respond well. And as much as those are all legit pieces of advice, I think the don't be scared to fail, and he talks about it in Pumping Iron, I believe. He gives one of his little speeches on that. It resonates so hard because that's such a key thing that it's really easy to not implement and not even realize it, like be unconsciously scared that you're going to fail at something. And it's fucking profound with really anything, man. If you can notice that, like, oh, I'm scared, and get that out of your head, how much more successful you'll be. Like, it's...
Oh, yeah.
This one comes up all the time with me, man, because I do so much handstand work in my workouts these days, and I'm sure the same thing has happened to you. What happens if you're going up for a set of handstand push-ups, maybe you're on your 2nd or 3rd rep, and I saw that video you put up, it was probably a couple of weeks ago. You're cranking them out, man, handstand push-ups. Like, how many reps? Yeah, like that shit was on point. So what happens when you're on like the 3rd rep, and maybe you lose a tiny bit of balance, nothing that would tip you over, and then you think, oh wait, shit, I could fall. You're probably gonna fall in the next second or two.
Yeah.
If you can catch that the thought before it takes any hold, just ignore it, just focus. I'm just doing handstands. Your balance is perfect, and it comes up so much with that. Like, if you think about falling, you fucking will. If you don't think about it, you already know you can do it. You've done thousands of handstands at this point, so. That's just like a physical example, but yeah, man, that don't be scared to fail. That one always catches me every time Arnold drops it in a speech or video, and then in this book, like, because that's just a key part of his philosophy. Motherfucker took a lot of risks in his life, man. I mean, he came over from Austria to be a damn bodybuilder, number one. That's about as crazy as it gets. And yeah, so many things throughout his career. But then, so he drops those. Those are like Arnold's classic 5. I'm sure anyone who's a fan of his shit or watched Pumping Iron has heard him say some version of that before. But then the rest of that last chapter, he goes through 10 other individual things, all pulled with examples that he's talked about in the book, just shit from his life. And I definitely can't list off those 10. Go read the book, but they're killer, man. It's so much better when you have something like some good advice and then a direct example from the guy pulls, like, how that worked in my life. You know what I mean? When I did this movie, took this risk, whatever. So, yeah, that book's ridiculous. It's called Total Recall for anyone who's interested. But yeah,
I'll definitely be looking into that for sure, man. I actually want to. I'm not sure about getting one of those like Audible fucking. Isn't that the app?
I was just gonna say, man. Yeah, Audible.
I was getting charged some ridiculous shit for some reason. I got charged 2 months, and I didn't even sign up for it. Somebody sent it to me, and like I clicked on it and looked at it, and then back off. And all of a sudden, they got charged $20, and it said because I accepted the fucking book or whatever. I'm like,
gotta be careful with that shit, man.
Yeah, I didn't realize, you know. So I like backed out. So I got to figure that shit out for sure. But I like that about the books, man. You hit on a valid thing there when it gives a great example after it says something so knowledgeable. Like, that's what I like about this The Big Leap, which I've told you about. I just read it, read like half of it again. I really enjoy it. It's like really gets you into that good mindset. But I'm gonna be looking into this for sure. I wonder
feel
how
like
much
it would be
it
a
is.
good audiobook too, man. It might be a good first one to try on on Audible or something else. I'm sure there's other
It'd be
platforms
badass
you can
if
get.
it was like if I could find one with Arnold fucking
I wonder if he narrates his own book. A lot of them don't, but I always feel like they should, man. I think I think more authors are doing
almost.
it.
Like, come on,
I fucking
man.
hope so. Yeah, because that's the other thing, man. It really does feel like it's written in his voice. Because I'm sure he had, maybe not a direct ghostwriter, but anyone who writes a biography who's not a straight writer themselves, they at least consult with some like high-level author who helps them through it. And there's just ways you structure things that as a non-writer you're not going to be able to do. So I don't know. Like I said before, he didn't put his name or any co-author's name, so who knows if anyone did, if he had any ghostwriters. But it definitely feels. That was the thing that surprised me the most at the beginning of that book, man, because just how good the writing was. And for me personally, that's just an opinion on it, but the reason it worked so well for me, and it took me a couple chapters to catch on to this shit, is he would go into pretty intense detail on, because a lot of it's based on people he met, ran into, whatever, along throughout his career, did deals with, made movies with. He would always go into detail on the people, and that, it puts like a great visualization in your head as you're reading. Like some books, and you can effectively do this if you, like for a biography like this Arnold book, you describe the surroundings and the scenery, and of course there's a little bit of that, too much. That's not really the point of it. He's really talking about his personal journey, like basically what was going on inside his head through this whole process. So when he just goes into describing the people and then his interactions with them, that really killed it for me, and I hadn't noticed that in reading other books. I probably will now going forward, but that was another thing I loved about it, man. Just how he described different people, and yeah, I'd throw that at the top of the list for.
Hell yeah,
I know you'll love that shit.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how well the book did in general. I'm sure just given his name, it was a bestseller and whatever, but I heard some shit on that not too long ago that, and I don't even remember what it was. The formula for a bestseller is kind of whack, man. Like, it's not actually just based on how, especially since so many people are buying it on Kindle and audiobook now, it's not just based on how many sales. It's like, now when they say an album went gold or platinum, the formula is like every 100 streams on Pandora, Spotify, like that equals one album sale or some bullshit like that. So the artists can cut deals, like if you release it just on this platform, they know they'll get more streams, and that'll boost album sales, and they didn't actually sell that many albums. So there's a lot of fuckery around that. So all I'm saying with that is I read a lot of books. I don't put any faith in the bestseller list, because I don't even know what that means at this point. Like it used to just mean it was just numbers, how the book sold, but there's so many different ways you can get a version of a book now. It's not the same thing. So it probably was good for him.
Speaking of the books, I got to find my partner here, Craig Tamini. He's pretty badass. This guy. He's the one that got me
the public speaking stuff with?
Yeah, I'm doing this public speaking with. He actually already wrote a book. He's writing his second book now, and he does pretty well. I actually haven't even asked him about his book. I should fucking read it and see what it's about. But he's a very motivational, inspirational guy. Like, he's very clear on motivation is a short term, inspiration is what you're living for, is your why, you know, and I think lately,
I agree with that.
A lot has been hitting me, and I think I'm gonna, like, you just talking about it, just keeps like wrapping it up. Alicia was like, "Hey, you should start. You're thinking about writing your book," and I think I'm gonna write a book, man. I think I'm gonna start that here real soon. Yeah. Like I got it brewing, so maybe even I'll just give myself like an hour every night before bed, something, start writing. Feel good about it.
I think that's like a Tim Ferriss technique, man. It's a win-win. Like, you write some shit, regardless of what comes out of it, what type of a book it turns into, you're going to get something from it, you know, even if it's just a learning. So
it doesn't even have to, it can come out as being the idea of a book, but I don't even need to publish it. I don't need to make anything, but it might be interesting just to see what I keep writing after consistency, you know, over time.
So, man, I got a podcast that you should definitely listen to. It just probably came out yesterday or today. I just listened to it while I was working out this morning. It was Aubrey Marcus, the CEO, on Mind Pump. So I'm fans of, and he has his own podcast too. I listen to it all the time. Like, not every one, but when he gets some cool guests. I saw that and instantly it was a perfect thing to throw on while I was working out. the reason why they had that episode right there was because he's just releasing a book. And I don't know if it's actually out yet. Like, I'll definitely read it at some point, but it's either just released or soon to be. And I'm pretty sure he's written another one in the past, or I might have just heard him talk about the early part of the process of writing this one. But dude talks a lot about just the process of writing a book and how he went about it. So I'm sure you'd be interested.
Nice, yeah, for
it's
sure.
It's a good interview too, because. And they say this at the beginning. It's one of the things I like about Mind Pump, man. It's one of the better, like, more raw shows out there, especially in regards to, it's mainly fitness stuff, but just like a lot of things, like Rogan, they go down different lanes too, talk about business, whatever. And they weren't really on the same page at the beginning of this interview. And then they say it, like, they preface that in the intro, like, we just weren't hitting, like, it's hard when they're trying to develop a conversation, and what they were saying is they felt like he wasn't giving them straight answers, basically. I listened to it, and because I also listened to his show and have for a while heard him on Rogan, all that shit, I think they just weren't getting what the guy was saying. And that's one of the reasons I was going to tell you to listen to that anyway, just because I want your opinion on it, man, see what you think about it. 'Cause I really felt like what he was saying was flying over their head, because they kept they would ask him shit, and this is the kind of thing that the Mind Pump guys do, like, what's been your biggest struggle this year with your business, or some shit like that, and he would give them an answer that was just too broad, and it really seemed like it it would just fly over their heads, and that was frustrating. Especially one of the guys, I think it was Adam, eventually just gets so annoyed he just keeps, like, going in on the same question. It's kind of funny to listen to. Like, it's still a good conversation over there. They're not, like, hostile towards each other or anything, but it's an interesting dynamic, man. So you should give that one a listen. I want to hear your
for sure, yeah, I will.
On it. And it'll be interesting just in terms of if you're thinking about writing some stuff, like I said,
I've been thinking about it for a long time, but right now it's, like, real serious, because I'm writing this speech here, and, like, it just comes, like, I don't know. Everybody's been telling me I have really good way with words and shit. Like, I come at people with, like, real intense information, but in a way that's absorbable, and, like, I don't know, I just can make I've always loved this thesaurus because I was a fucking kid in all those special ed classes and shit, so, like, you know, dude, I don't know. That was, like, one thing that I caught on to real good was the thesaurus. And
I hear you, man. The thesaurus, yeah, that was key. Whenever I was writing some shit in school, I would always go right to that. And then I do this when I talk sometimes, too. Not as bad as I used to. Just throwing words that I may or may not know exactly what it was, just because I pulled it from the thesaurus and I thought it would get me a better grade.
Sometimes I'll, like, try them out in, like, a mix of people just to see if I got it right. It'll be like, nobody looked at me weird, so it sounds like it's good. All right, we'll keep going.
Dude, and it's hilarious because half the time if you use a word that's not in, like, the common vocab with the people you're talking to, most people who don't know what it is won't say shit. Like, that's one thing I try to do, and this is a perfect example of me trying to learn. If someone says a word I'm not familiar with, I'm like, what's that mean? And it's one, primarily because I want to learn, also because I'm curious if they know what it means. Like, man, I had a friend in high school who did it so much worse than I'd ever. Just all kinds of big-ass words. He had no fucking idea what that meant. Never. And everyone knew it, too. Like, it ended up just being a running joke. But, yeah, you never want to go that far, but it's useful to expand your vocab like that.
Yeah, man. It's funny. It's funny.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's definitely amusing and, like, to try it in conversation, even if you don't fully know exactly what it is. But it's fun to try it out like that. And that's one of the things I fucking love about this Kindle I have, man. I've been still read a hardcover book every now and then. I waited a while until I got a few people. My uncle and my cousin were both convinced me that it was a legit way to read off a tablet like that. I just got the black and white version because I didn't want the light or anything, so I can read it at night, you know. And for anyone who doesn't know that, it's a terrible idea to stare at a screen right before you go to bed.
Like,
I'll
what
leave it
the
at
fuck?
that.
Yeah,
that one's been beaten to death, but that's why I got the black and white Kindle with no light on the screen. Just read it like a normal book. Anytime there's a big-ass word, which in almost every book I read, there's going to be plenty of words I'm not familiar with, at least in like not familiar enough to use in day-to-day conversation, you just click on that word, it pops you a definition up right there. It's been so useful to me, man. And especially, like,
dude,
I like
need
to
one
read
of
some
them
older.
fucking things.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's surprisingly useful because before, what I would do, I was reading plenty before. When I'd be reading a paper book, what I got in the habit of doing was just always having my phone next to me. So as soon as I came across a word I was curious about, you just Google it real quick, get the definition there. But it's so much better just be able to tap that shit on the screen.
Hell
see,
yeah.
oh, all right. Like,
the reason
especially
why I was
if
saying it's so funny is because little Bobby, he like throws all these crazy words out there that he hears off of like, a TV show or something. Like he keep on like talking about his appendix and his and like shit like this, and like he hits his knee and he's like, "Oh, I hurt my appendix." I'm like, "That's not your fucking appendix." It's hilarious, man. And he's like looking up words. He's like, "No, you do have an appendix. It's right here." I'm like, "Okay, now you know where it is. See, it's good. It's pretty cool, man, to see this little dude start to do it." But sometimes it's ridiculous. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, funny as fuck when little kids get on a word that they legit have no idea what it means.
Oh man, he has like a whole vocab of words that he has no clue what they are. So he'll just be like talking about his esophagus, and like he's almost right, but he's like, we're like, what the fuck? Just listen to him talking about his esophagus is just so it's sick, dude. You're sick. It's hilarious. It's good stuff.
I hear that, man. When I was a little kid that age, probably like 4 to 6, just when you're learning to read and like starting to read through books and finding new words and stuff, I would often take words from it and get an idea from what I was reading, but the wrong idea. Like in the context, I would think it meant this, and then it would mean something totally different. So, would
you figure it out though after you like finish the sentence? You're like, oh shit, that doesn't mean that, and have to go back because like that's
no,
what
I figured it out probably about like 5th or 6th grade, and it took me a good 4 years to get a handle on some of the words I was totally misusing. I'm like, I feel like my teacher should have corrected me earlier because. Like I said, I was always liked to read, man, from a little kid on up, with that brief break when I was in college. Other than that, I've always been a reader. So, yeah, it's hilarious, man. It's funny to see little kids do that. It really is.
See, I used to do something similar, but I would like read it, and I'd read it like not right, and then the time I get to the end of the paragraph or the end of the sentence, I'll be like, fuck, it doesn't make any sense. Go back. What the hell is that word? Yeah.
And I gotta be honest, I probably, and I don't know if this is like a Vermont, New England thing, because we do a lot of it around here. A lot of words, too, it wasn't as much misunderstanding them as like wildly mispronouncing them. Saying like a totally different version of how it's supposed to sound. Mainly because you take it because of how it was spelled, or dude, if you're a little kid and you hear an older person mispronounce a word, you're gonna be like, oh, that's how it's supposed to be said. You know what I mean? And we definitely, man, around Vermont, we mispronounce a lot of words.
No, that's pretty bad out here too, man. It's like I'm 2,000 miles away, and it's. Yeah, we got the rednecks out here.
But it's different, I'm sure, like different words that they like to mispronounce. That's like that's part of the vernacular, man. Just like the geographical vocab that different people use. So everyone has their own, but
well, you know what I've been told though, other than like using whicked and shit, like sometimes
you get dude, if you leave New England, you get called out hard. Like, why do people think that's so crazy? I'm like, wicked is
nobody
not
knows
that.
what wicked is. Like, what the hell is wicked?
I understand
like,
the way we use it is different, but it's not that crazy. Like I had people geek out when I use that shit just in Pennsylvania, and I'm like, I'm not even that far away from New England. Like, it's not that crazy of a word. It's wicked. But yeah, I hear you on that, man. If you get out of New England, you got to cut wicked out of the vocab real quick, or people aren't gonna know what the fuck you're talking about.
No, but I asked a few of them and shit, because a lot of people have, like accents out here, and I have been told I'm like a neutral. I don't have much of an accent at all. Like, somebody tell me, like, give us a review or something, be like, dude, you got a fucking accent. Throw it at me. But so far, I have not been told. I've been told, like, little Bobby, he's got, like, some slang going on, but I don't know. It's weird.
I bet he'll lose it as he grows up. I think accents in general, especially like area to area, say like New England versus Midwest versus West Coast, I think that shit's going away just because you have so much movement.
So much
in
movement,
between the areas, and then now we have cross-cultural, different countries coming all over. Like, you can still find someone easily in Canada that has a Canadian accent, but you can find a lot of people in Canada who I couldn't pick out where they're from. No way, man. It's so, and same thing here. So yeah, that goes along with my
2,000
my race
miles
theory.
is not that far anymore. You know what I mean? It just isn't.
Yeah.
It just fucking isn't.
I really
it's
think
ridiculous.
we are, man. I think as a country, and then more so as a continent, and definitely across the first world countries, and then the whole world is gonna catch up real fast. I think we're just all blending, man. I don't know exactly what it'll do to language and different cultures and stuff, because you take different parts, but it goes back to the old melting pot saying. I mean, America is a mess of different people, so. You could say, I don't know, like, say being American, that you could have a philosophy around that, around freedom, all that, but it's going to be tough to pin down, like, a type of person, because you just get such a ridiculous diversity, man. As much as you have little pockets of people are the same, I think it's blending up like crazy.
That just clicked in my head. I've been doing this, like, watching people create commercials and shit, and, like, just watching a lot of things for different businesses and shit. Boot camp, the Limu, all that type of stuff. And what I notice is that every single time when they go through and they're like, I'm American or whatever, like there's like a thing like that, multiple people say it in a row, it's never one, it's of course never one color. It's never, it's never one size, it's never male or just female, it's just like fucking all kinds. Like it has never been consistent. And like in the military out here, there's a lot of military commercials. I don't have TVs, but I do see them once in a while when I'm at other places. And the military is so diverse, like it's fucking ridiculous. You know, like I didn't even realize it was like that. So if the military is like that, how is there any say about any race? Why isn't that? Why, you know, that's like one whole nother thing. But still, it pisses me off that's even a thing anymore. You know what I mean? That that should be all fucking wept away racism. Like, fuck all that. Everybody.
Well, that's what I'm kind of saying. I think the more we blend, it'll happen inevitably. For sure. Like, you won't be able to stop it, and that'll be a great thing overall.
Just there's like trying to hold on to it because, you know, water's too easily to get
for sure, man. And there will for a long time, but I think racism really is more cultural than anything else. It's not just the actual races, because you get people that from one part of the world might consider this area the same race. Like a very good example is a lot of people from this side of the world will look at people in the Middle East as Arabs. Whether they're Sunni Muslim or Shia Muslim could be the difference between them like going to war. Totally different. Whereas visually, I can't tell the difference. You know what I mean? That's happened all over in every conflict, every kind of ethnic thing all over the world. You take an outside group, and I'm like, well, shit, they all look, they look like the same race to me, but to them, it's totally fucking different. So, yeah.
My Indian friend out here really told me a lot about, like, India. Like, I didn't realize the North and the South there had so much fucking
big,
controversy. Man. It's so fucking big. I knew it was huge, but I didn't realize all that was going on. And he was like, oh, yeah, he goes, if I go north, they, like, pick me right out. You know,
and admittedly,
like, I'm totally different.
Like, and it's easy, like the old joke, I'm sorry if this offends anyone, is that all Asians look the same. But if you actually take a Japanese person and a Chinese person, they look so fucking different. You take a Chinese person from a different part of that giant area of the world, they look crazy different when you actually see them side by side. So it's the same thing. I'm sure they say the same shit about us, man. White people look exactly the same, but yeah, I think we blend more and more. And just like what you said, I think racism will be a thing of the past, and it might take longer than a lot of us would hope, but I think it's going to be forced. People want to hold on to old ideas and really just mental constructs, ideas they have that probably weren't based in anything real anyway. That shit'll just go out the window, man. I think each generation we probably get a little less racist until it's going to be severe minority of just like, you just got to be like an angry, hateful person if you're legitimately racist. You know, if you want to throw on like a KKK hat and actually go protest it and shit, you probably have some fucked up shit either in your past or in your life at the moment. You know what I mean? It's an outlet for being pissed off. That's all it is, man. They need to work that shit out for sure.
We got some real underlying issues going on.
What do you think about this, man? So if we do blend, I'm looking at it scientifically. Like, we're just talking about genetics mixing. So if the world, people gonna fuck, man, and people are gonna keep moving around the world too. So the more that happens, do you think we'll get more? Do you think it will increase the athletic potential? Like, you'll get the weird anomalies, like a mix of person who has genetics from here, here, and there. Maybe they got some Icelandic genetics, so they're like the mountain. You know, they got crazy strength, maybe like 6'8". So you're gonna get, for example, and usually this correlates with size. You're gonna get like NFL athletes the same size, and I think we're already seeing this. You're getting guys who are like 320 running 40-yard dashes under 5 seconds. Like, it's ridiculous, man. Like, for a guy that big to be moving that fast. So I think we'll get more and more freak athletes, and even people like the mountain. Like, maybe his genetics are all straight from Iceland. I don't know. It's straight from the Viking boat.
I think overall, a whole human mass, like, I think what's going to happen is we're going to have, like, a huge population of those people. I just hope it all stays mixed, because what I see there is going to be genetics that go favorably one way, but are we really going to wean out the other people? No, we're not, because we're not that type of species, so we're not going to start killing them off. So what we're going to have, we're going to have the fucking athletic, holy shit, fucking badass motherfuckers. Then we'll probably have, like, the middle people that are pretty decent, can keep up, but, you know, they actually do more of the middle-class work all the time, you know. And then you got the underlying people that really kind of got fucked in everything. They're a little shorter, they don't have the muscle density, all that good shit, you know. Like, because we don't have that in our society to kill off the weak, it's gonna
survival of the fittest is no
man.
longer a thing, at least most places, fortunately. But
you never know. Those small people, say like the small short people, could have the fucking the brains like a fucking Einstein, and then these giant motherfuckers could have like just enough brains to be like the sport.
I'm glad you said that, man, because that's the more important side of it, because I think we'll get more freaks, like the potential for a very small amount of the population, which is what it is right now. Like, I'm not talking about anything drastic. More super athletes, and that's very rare, like someone who, say, gets to the NBA. Dude, you know, out of the whole world, and of course basketball is dominant here, but like a lot of other countries are pretty into basketball, there's like 400 dudes in the NBA.
Yeah.
How many fucking millions of people who are super into playing basketball try as hard as they can up through the ranks? There's like 400 of them.
What the fuck?
The odds are pretty slim. So, yeah, you got to have crazy genetic potential and then all the other factors of work ethic. Yeah, I think we'll get more potential, but in overall, athletically, I got to think the population, the potential will be watered down. The difference maker is we're optimizing now, man. We have better food, better medicine, all that, and
I think it's going to be a little bit individual too. You know what I mean? It's going to be a little bit of like a certain. We're still going to have cliques. You know what I mean? Even though we're all going to be this one giant fucking mass, we're still going to have like little cliques. So like, you know, like America, you know, maybe we smarten the fuck up and we start eating and we start living life more accordingly to have
get healthier as
life,
a country.
be healthier as a country. We're probably going to keep thriving, so we'll have less
let's
of
be real
the other
on
issues.
that, man. And maybe some people would debate this. There are certain sports you can pick certain areas of the world that people tend to come from, and they have a higher percentage that are good at that sport. In terms of overall athletics, as poor as our state of health is as a country in general, obesity rate and disease and all that, we're fucking killing it athletically.
Yeah, but for those individuals, you're
talking about peak potential.
Yeah.
That's all you can do when you're comparing the highest performers, like Olympic athletes, NFL.
But see, there
really
you
the
go.
Only thing
over a mass of just America, it's kind of just like I said. Over the time of America, more people were equal, right? Now it's kind of weaned to the area where mostly about, 50%, maybe a little bit more, is unhealthy as fuck. And then the other now is at the top dogs. You know, usually they're either doing very well or even better. You know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of middle going on.
Well, the only thing I have to say on that, man, you got to consider when we're talking about top-level athletes, and more of them are on their shit, a lot of those guys, like NBA players, for example, do not lead healthy lifestyles at all. They're just genetic freaks. Because one of the
That's
key
true.
characteristics with basketball, you have to be a great athlete, but just height. And you just see it over the years. You can see a graph of them getting taller and taller.
Dude, I
so
just saw a 12-year-old that's 7'6".
That's insane. Yeah, and more and more of those are popping up. Like I said, I think we're going to get those outlying freaks, but this is a crazy stat that illustrates the point just about the NBA. If you know a 7-footer, you live in the U.S. and you know a 7-footer, there's a 1 out of 3 chance he's in the NBA.
Oh my god.
So think about that, man. Like, you think like there'd be more of them around, and we've all ran into some crazy tall people. To be a true 7-footer, not 6'10", not just tall as fuck, not 6'11 and a half and 7
feet.
A true 7-footer, a Shaq, you know, that is still very rare. Even though there's plenty of them out there by the numbers, it's still rare, and you know.
Dude,
one.
I can't imagine a
Good chance
7-footer, man. Like I guess maybe I've seen 1 or 2 in my life, but like my uncle, he's 6'8" on my mom's side. It's just
exactly
like
tall as fuck, but not
I'm like,
7.
what the? Yeah, but still, he like walks in, he's just so much bigger than everybody else. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, so I can't imagine having a 7-footer. So no wonder they be in the NBA, man. Just fucking.
There's a good chance, a 33% chance, but man,
there can't be that many. There can't be that many of them either.
Yeah, I have no idea what the number is actually,
like you're saying, you know, I mean, like the true 7-footers, they can't be.
Yeah, someone who actually, gets measured at the doctor being 7 feet tall. Which, did those things at the doctor, they put it down in your head, do they even go to 7 feet usually, man?
I don't know, man.
They have to boost it up for them. But no, man, what you said before, I think is more interesting about the, we get more mental freaks, you know, more little geniuses and stuff when you get the genetic mix. I tend to think hopefully we will, and I think it's at least pretty likely that we would get more people who are super intelligent, and the way the world's going, that's probably going to be more important than being a freak athlete. Like, I don't think top level sports are going anywhere, at least anytime soon, but if you look at even the crazy money they make, being like an Elon Musk in Silicon Valley is catching up with that and blowing right past it real quick, so I think the super nerds might win in the end, but we'll wait and see, man.
I'm thinking it'll definitely either be nerds or like we need some shit to happen to wipe out like either a good like amount of our like electricity, like our normal supply, so we have to go back to like living in the day and shit. You know what I mean? Like I want that to happen almost. Dude, like I'm a little like sometimes I'm laying here like I like my life, like I love what I'm doing now and stuff, but dude, like if we could just go back to that, you know how much more enjoyment we'd have in life, like just living to live. You know?
I hear you. So when I think that through those scenarios, I'm totally ignoring that. Like it would have to wipe out most of the earth and all that. Like that would be sad as fuck. Obviously, if you just think about
like, what is
just
it?
after that,
sun rays. What the fuck is it? The rays
solar flares.
Solar flare comes through, fucking wipes out all the power. We say no fucking power anymore.
Dude, an asteroid, giant earthquake, tsunami, super volcano, any of that shit.
We could have minimal casualties, just no electricity.
That shit would get interesting real quick, man. But yeah, I don't know if I think we're almost at a point that unless we get the slate totally wiped clean, like you have some crazy catastrophe, like a super volcano under Yellowstone pops or some shit, I don't think it could happen, man. Because there's
crazy.
think about how many people just around home here are off the grid with their solar panels and shit. So like,
and so it probably wouldn't be that bad. Everybody
if the grid went down, it would fuck things up real quick, especially in cities. But yeah, I almost feel like the infrastructure is still in place for it to bounce back no matter what at this point, unless almost everything is wiped clean.
That's true. You know, I just had the thought like the other night. I think it was fucking Friday night or something. I was like, man, I've always like. I guess it was more in Vermont that I always wanted that to happen, but here life's pretty good, so I guess that would kind of suck right now. Trying to fight for all the food at Safeway.
There'd be pros and cons. It would be tough.
I don't have all the equipment. I can't take over the grocery store with the truck and the excavator and stuff. You know.
I think it's an interesting little mental rabbit hole to go down though, because there's definitely something weirdly appealing about it. That's why all the apocalyptic movies are so popular, man. Like there's something about some shit like that happening than going through the struggle of trying to still survive that appeals in a weird way to a lot of us. Like, of course, we don't mean that literally. That's before we got pretty good, but there are
I like
things
taking showers.
Like, at the very least, like, we'd all sleep a lot better if we didn't have the electricity, man. You're like, much healthier circadian rhythms. Yeah, man, it's that's a fun one. We've talked about that way back too. How you'd survive if you didn't have any of the modern comforts. And look, I don't know. I've never tried that. I'm not about to do it, man. Go live in the mountains.
I'm actually pretty excited.
I think I'd do pretty good. And I'm
sure
you'd be all right too, man.
I'm excited to try it out. That guy Craig, that's another thing he does that I'm so pumped for. Like, sometimes he'll go out there full pack and camp, but he'll also just go out with a knife and flint, and he'll stay out 2 nights with a knife and flint.
That's a decent little dose of nature. Yeah,
that's what he does. He's done it a few times. He used to be in the military, and he's actually had to save some people that went camping with him that weren't prepared. But I'm excited to do that with him. I want to put myself through that challenge. You know, like, I don't know about the first fucking time going out there, just my knife and some flint. But yeah, definitely the second time I'll try it out, man. I got that life straw. That thing is dope.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking
Those
like.
Are cool
I'll just bring a life straw, a fucking knife, and some flint, and I'm good. I should be. I mean, if I can't find anything to eat, hopefully I don't die of starvation in 2 days.
There's an appeal to it for sure. That's why, like, the other examples, Bear Grylls, man, Survivor Man, Naked and Afraid, people love that shit. And of course, most of us aren't going out and doing it. Like, personally, all I need to get a little reconnection. Yeah, fuck that, man. Are you kidding? Mosquito bites all over your balls and shit. I'm good on that.
I'll go as far as the vibes. I'm gonna wear like some good gear and some vibes. I'll go out there. No.
All I need to do, and I've done this usually a couple times a year for the last few years, and I don't even have to go out of my way to do it because I just have friends and family that like to get out there, so it's kind of just happened naturally. But I just have to go on a good camping trip out in the mountains somewhere. I'm talking about on trails, not any like full bushwhacking. Maybe eventually I'll get to that point. Like, there's that bow hunter Remy Warren who's been on Rogan a few times. He always talks, but he goes on those like 2-week out in the wilderness by himself, real intense, running to grizzly bears and shit. I could see maybe like you just keep wanting to up the ante, like go camping, then maybe you want to go by yourself, then maybe you want to go with no trail or whatever. At the moment, if I just go into the mountains, and it could either be camping in a tent, hammock camping, I've gotten a taste for that over the last few years, or even staying in one of those like national park huts, little lean-to cabin kind of things, just doing that for a night or a couple nights optimally, that gives me all the reset I need at the moment.
Yeah.
So we'll
Dude, I'm
see
pumped.
where...
I'm pumped. You just made me realize another great fucking thing about you coming out here is I have time now, and you're gonna have time in the beginning. We can fucking do camping, man. We camp this time of year. People camp out now, like fucking. We got dope hiking trails that are all in the sun all day long. It's nice out here for that.
Yeah, one of the biggest appeals to me about the area is the mountains for sure. There's no question about that. I've had ever since I was a little kid, man. I look at a big ass mountain and I'm just like, I'd like to walk up that thing, see what it looks like from the top.
Plenty of that shit here, yeah.
No doubt, no doubt, man. So we'll plan on that for sure. Some maybe we'll even be able to get us a mountain podcast in at some point.
Hell yeah, well, I think we're gonna be able to make that happen, no problem. I mean, fuck, between the phones and the fucking computers and shit these days, hell yeah.
So back to the details of me getting out there. I'm right in the middle now. I'm gonna apply for an apartment with a guy out. It'll looking to land a little bit north of Denver. Hopefully that goes through this week. And honestly, man, I'm at the point now. I'm still in no kind of rush. I don't have any obligations. I don't have shit pushing me. I'm getting a little antsy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm ready to fucking go.
I know, yeah.
Like, wrap it up. And I got it. It's just a little exercise in patience because I'm organizing a housing situation from across the country, which looks like it'll work out just fine. But damn, yeah, I want it to wrap up soon here.
Yeah.
So we'll see. one of these times it's just gonna be
I
next
swear you've
show
been
here.
antsy since I moved, man. Like since you were fucking helping me like load up.
Well, I
like,
gotta be honest, and I've said this before. Since I graduated high school, every time I've been anywhere more than a year, I haven't wanted to stay, and I don't know, that could very easily keep going for a good couple of years here. But yeah, I don't know. I think I have some gypsy blood in me or something, man. Some nomadic tribe ancestors. Like, yeah, I just like to definitely feel the need to move. So yeah, I've been ready for a while. No question about that.
Oh yeah, man. Maybe we could be the ones that do a podcast on every single 14-footer out here.
That would be some shit, man.
That'd be some shit. We'd be the first.
Figure out something for
man.
wind up on those fucking mountains.
Yeah. We'll do a fucking tent. Fuck it, just to get
Right?
it. Whatever. Yeah, hell yeah.
No, we'll get up to some cool shit for sure, though, man. I can't wait. So, shit, I think this is a good place to wrap this one up. So, we're Green Mountain Views on Instagram, gmv802@gmail, YouTube, all that
Facebook,
shit.
YouTube. I'll start getting some more videos up. I don't know what the hell's going on with my converter. It's not working at the moment. I'm gonna get that shit down. But yeah, I have noticed there's some views on there, so I'm liking it. If you guys hit us up with some reviews, some likes, maybe some subscribes, it'd be much appreciated.
Yeah, all that. We appreciate anyone listening, and we'll be back at it soon.
Peace.
Out of here.